Hello guys, how's it going? My name is Dalaran. In today's video, we'll be taking a look at yet another quote-unquote leak for the future World of Warcraft expansion. Now, these leaks are generally, they're either half-truths or 100% BS, so I never trust these. But what I do want to do is take a look at some of these ideas. In a sense, I think of leaks as almost wishful thinking or maybe fan fiction, what some fans of World of Warcraft are hoping that the future expansion will be like, taking some clues from what we have right now, like the whole Void Gods and Azeroth coming back and patch 8.2, and kind of extrapolating on that and exploring more on the possibilities. So this video is not going to be like, hey, this is a guarantee of things that are happening, but rather, what is the possibility and how cool are some of these ideas if they do have any great ideas at all. So that's what I want to do for today's video. This one is going to be actually named Age of Darkness, and I briefly took a look at every single aspect that they are kind of trying to display here. But the new World of Warcraft quote-unquote expansion called AOD, Age of Darkness, is something we'll be taking a look at from the leaks today. The post starts off talking about the level caps. New level squish to 50, the new level cap is 60, where vanilla is going to encompass level 1 through 20, TBC, Wrath, and Cataclysm 20 through 30, Mr. Pandorian WoD 30 to 40, Legion and BFA 40 to 50, and AOD 50 to 60. I guess we do know that there is going to be a level squish, or at least Blizzard has sent out a survey saying, hey, are you aware that there's going to be a level squish happening? I feel like level squish is going to be messy, but this is good idea as any other. It does make me wonder how fast are we going to level, because normally when you level a character, and I guess the experience should be a lot slower because they are squishing, but you'll still have to spend the same amount of time as you would level from 1 to 120. So level 1 through 20, imagine if you got through that in just the 2 zones. That'd be insane. Next, and of course, Tinker. Everybody's going to mention Tinker, but here they did it a little bit differently. 2 specializations, one is Explosive, which is range damage dealer, and a Combat Medic for healing, exclusive to Gnomes, Mechagnomes, Draenei, Goblins, Guild Goblins, Forsaken, and pre-purchasable with Mechagnomes and Guild Goblins in 8.3 or 8 through 5. The Guild Goblins, if you guys are not aware, if you're playing Horde and you're hanging out in Anashtar, the blue goblin dudes, sometimes red, those are the guys that are technically called Guild Goblins. It's goblins with, well, literally guilds. But to add Draenei and Undead or Forsaken into this list is a little bit weird at first, but I do like the idea of adding more races besides just the goblins. And maybe even adding some of the lesser played ones, like goblins and gnomes are already pretty less played, but Draenei, that's another one where we'll see more Draenei around the game. That's actually kind of cool. Continuing on, we have the story. N'Zoth unleashes darkness all over Azeroth as foreshadowed in the Nighthold raid encounter with Star Augur Estrius. I did that fight only a handful of times. Never really get his name. Starting point is the attack on Thunderbluff raid, where he interrupts the Horde and Alliance forces in the battle. Kalimdor is his first goal as he strives to revive one of the oldest foes, Cthulhu in Silithus. To do that, he is seeking to destroy the Bronze Dragonflight and turn Nozdormu into Murozond, so he alters the timeline where Cthulhu doesn't get defeated, and the Battle of Ahn'Qiraj is lost by Horde and Alliance in consequence. No real dragon focus yet, Bronze and Infinite Dragonflight play a major role. Xal'atath will play a major role as the main antagonist of the Old Gods, some kind of evil neutral. She commands us to captivate and imprison Sylvanas instead of killing her because we need her. Is that the right word? Captivate? Not capture? Not attack? I feel like there could have been maybe a better word used there. Captivate is like, I find like things captivating, like interesting. We're supposed to entertain Sylvanas? Either way, kind of a dope idea of N'Zoth coming back to revive Cthulhu and maybe other old gods. Doesn't mean we have to slay him all over again, but to bring him back for a brand new encounter. Most people, I don't think, ever got to play the original fight against Cthulhu, so if they were to revive that fight, I think it wouldn't be a bad idea whatsoever and put like a different spin on it. It's not exactly copy-paste of the original, but can ring to what the original was very much like. So there's potential for raids, but there's also potential for a decent story. I could kind of sort of see it as the Horde and Alliance are about to clash, and yes, Thunderbluff would be the best place to do this since, you know, Bane betrayed Sylvanas. I don't think that's news to anybody at this point, but not a terrible premise. So far, kind of favorable, but still does seem like a quote-unquote leak. Partial Old World Revamp only unlocks after finishing the pre-quest of AOD. For new players, it'll be the same as live until they get the pre-quest at level 50. Starting with Kalimdor, Ungoro, Feralas, Desolace plus Mulgore are new high-level zones. Silithus will be the endgame zone akin to Surmark, question mark. Eastern Kingdom will be revamped later, on with something special planned for Gilneas, Tristfall, and Plaguelands, hint towards old gods underneath Tristfall, question mark. I remember there was an old rumor about why are there these Fey dragons that fly up and do this song and dance with lights over in the Tristfall area, and then they brought back a artifact weapons that actually had to do with the Tristfall area, one for warriors for arms, and that's where also Xalatath was as well. So they did kind of bring back that whole idea, hey, yes, there's some sort of old god references, but not exactly an old god living there, I don't believe. Although not a terrible premise if there was to be like something brand new to add to the story. New feature, Essence System. Unlocks at level 50, every class gets several new skills and traits from 50 to 60, similar to the Glyph system we once had. 5 sockets, 2 for the passive traits, 2 for active skills, and 1 for ultimate ability. I do wonder if it's going to be like brand new abilities, and I would love for the Essence System to somehow make it into, I guess, back into the game. If they were to make that the brand new Glyph system, an old school Glyph that actually did change some of the abilities, mostly in passive ways, like a couple damage increase, or maybe certain abilities now have a secondary effect, like Ferocious Bite now has a 5% heal or something like that, so it would be great for PvP. Little things like that I think would be cool. I do wonder if they will continue with the Essence System, or it will be very similar to the Artifact Power system we had, where we had the weapons and then we didn't. Reshaping of the talent system. Offensive and defensive talents per bracket at level 10, 20, 30, 40, 50. You can pick 1 offensive plus 1 defensive talent per bracket. I mean, to give more customization for talents we want, talents we need, is not a bad idea, and to have 2 choices instead of, let's say, 1 of 3, to have 2 that you can slot in, 1 offensive, 1 defensive. I guess defensive could also be utility like mobility and crowd control. Offensive could be based on cooldowns and procs. To more customize your character wouldn't be a terrible idea. Although my thought process is maybe we should find a way to bring back old school talent trees and somehow find a way to modernize them at the same time. Maybe like talent trees of old school, but also have those gaps where you could choose like at level 15, at level 30, at level 45, 1 of 3. So you can still, you know, kind of plan what you want out of your class and then choose spec specific ones at those interval brackets like we have right now. But that would be my way of going about it if I were to write a leak. Conquest points, new max level leveling system. Don't take conquest points away, first of all. Unlocked at level 60, account-wide, different bonuses you can spend points on. More execute damage, higher run speed. Once unlocked, it will be available for characters in the account at least level 10. So when you have your max level character with conquest points maxed out, every one of your ults also gets similar conquest points. I mean, it's going to be a cookie cutter system, and most people are obviously going to put in more points into most damage, and when you don't have enough points for most damage, then everybody else is going to start putting into things like higher run speed, or maybe higher regeneration outside of combat, or whatever you might make up. But don't take away conquest points, keep that for PvP please, I'm just too used to it. Not a terrible idea to add something where a main can also impact how your ults play. Although that's nothing that World of Warcraft has really done that much in the past, it is an interesting idea, although don't really know if it fits to what World of Warcraft has done, simply because it's just a new thing that some other games have most likely done. And the release date, planned for Q4 of 2020, but they want to polish this expansion so it might get delayed. BFA's endings. Okay, we're gonna talk about how BFA could end. 8.2.5 will introduce new heritage armor and new models. We'll deal mostly with factions and aftermath of the events from the Eternal Palace. And then patch 8.3 set in Mulgore, centered around Sylvanas' plan to attack Thunderbluff. Mulga will be turning into a new max level zone similar to Mechgun with ongoing progress and weekly unlocks, culminating in the attack on Thunderbluff Raid. Sylvanas is the final boss, with Nathanos aiding her. Nathanos will be killed, Sylvanas will be severely wounded, captivated and imprisoned by her sisters Hilaria and Varisa. Hilaria and Varisa just gonna have to charm Sylvanas, I guess. Captivated. Shortly before the fight is over, N'Zoth minions enter the battle and fight Sylvanas and us. Everything turns dark, question mark. No schedule for the patches, as everything during BFA took longer than expected. Planned for 8.3 to be released this year, yet it might not happen. And final part, Mechanomes and Guild Goblins will be the last pair of allied races coming in 8.3.5. Factions won't merge / get removed, as some of the other leaks have talked about. There will be some kind of a neutrality and interfaction group play / communication enabled. One of the reasons given is the huge discrepancy of Alliance versus Horde on most realms and in the raiding community. I don't know how everybody else feels, but I am gonna put my foot down on this here. I think they should keep Horde and Alliance separated. I know that a lot of people want to see some interfaction play. Imagine if you have Night Elves and Blood Elves on the same faction. Oh, wouldn't that be cool? But I like the fact in World of Warcraft how they're defining the Horde and Alliance. You do have these obvious factions and a faction line drawn between the two, I guess in a sense, ideologies against these two alliances. The way that Horde and Alliance are so different is unique to its own. They kind of tried to bridge some sort of a gap with class order halls, and to imagine two rogues of different factions hanging out in the same pub is not really out of the belief. Same thing for mages sharing secrets in Dalaran, or warlocks hiding away in another planet, more like less, and just sharing their, I guess, tricks of enslaving demons and who is the more cruel to their demons. I would guess that's what warlocks talk about. To bridge classes along the, well, I guess the class, to bridge all these different races along the same class that they share, I don't think is that weird. But to bridge them alongside of, hey, we got this existential threat, so now Horde Orcs have to play with Alliance humans in the same raids and dungeons. Just a little too weird for me. But maybe I'm not the only one, or maybe I am the only one and somebody can convince me in the comments below. I know that having Horde and Alliance, let's say, share same raid space and fight together in the same LFR or dungeons, or be on same sides of just Team Red and Blue, not Horde and Alliance in PvP, would make it easier for a lot of the queues. You'll be able to queue for dungeons and raids and stuff a lot faster and a lot more often with a bigger pool of players. But to me, still, I feel like that's just one of the things that makes World of Warcraft unique, is the faction system. Being able to call Alliance in PvP Alliance scum, or as Alliance player calling Horde players Horde scum when you're meeting them in a battleground, there's just some fanfare to it that I've just been a huge fan of since ever, I guess. And I would love personally if they were not to change that system, if that was the case. Maybe somebody in the comments can convince me of that I am super wrong at this, but I love my Alliance versus Horde. I love my Red versus Blue. These are two sides of a same coin that are at war with each other, and I feel like that's what keeps this game going. And if we didn't have Alliance versus Horde conflicts, I don't even know if you would really call it World of Warcraft anymore. But besides that, this leak is, I feel like, nothing special. I like that they have a name for it, Age of Darkness, and it's something that can roll off the tongue. BFA, AOD, Legion, Wrath, BC, Kata, MOP, WOD. A lot of those names really kind of roll off the tongue fairly well. And having a name or something, I feel like adds a little bit more of, hey, here's a specification. And of course, there will be an expansion about old gods. So yes, Age of Darkness does kind of have that meaning to it, the whole voidy, N'Zothi, technically feeling that you get out of it. As for the actual content, they do have some cool ideas. It doesn't really feel like that's a leak of like what's possible, but if that was somebody's ideas of what some classes should be and how the leveling system would be, and some of the new systems like the Essence system, reshaping of talents, the Conquest points as the end game, currency / class building, character building, account building, I guess even, system, it's not a terrible idea. I'm not 100% on board with all of it, but not a bad bunch of ideas is what I will say. I feel like a better version of this would be maybe a mix of all the leaks, quote unquote, and combining the best ideas together might make it the most believable one. But there's some parts in certain leaks that I like, and others like, I don't really think it's possible. So in conclusion, until we have a person that's leaking specific information with exact detail, like let's say before BFA was happening, somebody said, hey, Sylvanas is going to march down into Darkshore and burn down the damn tree. Then, before we saw the cinematics, before we saw all that stuff, then I would have had a belief into that one person. Until then, we haven't had anybody who's been able to display concrete things in terms of what could be the next expansion. And with all the different things happening right now, it's really hard to tell what exactly is going to be. I feel like Blizzard is already putting up some information that could give us a potential of, hey, it could be this, it could be that, it could be old gods, could be factions uniting, could be Sylvanas being a bad guy, who knows, because the chips are on the table. And it's just people are picking up these chips and trying to make something off them. So it doesn't feel like it comes up with something crazy, although the idea of N'Zoth bringing back Cthulhu was a legitimately cool idea in terms of the story. I like that, and I feel like a lot of people can definitely jive in, especially if they love the whole mythos of the old gods, the tentacle boys, and I guess that whole theme, because they're just so mysterious but also so cool at the same time. All those old gods and the lore behind it, because I find them kind of cool. Anyway, guys, that's going to be everything for the, I guess, the potential leak. We talked about it as much as we could. Thank you guys so much for checking out this video. I'd like to hear your guys' thoughts in the comments below. What do you think about the potential leak of World of Warcraft Age of Darkness as potential future WoW expansion? How plausible do you think it is? Do you like any of the ideas presented in this leak, or this leak, I guess? If there's ever leaks in the future, I think it would be cool to cover them on the channel, just for the idea of, hey, what's the possibility? How plausible do I think could this be? What are some of the ideas that somebody comes up for? They're most of the cases wishful thinking. Thank you guys so much for checking out this video. Thank you so much for watching. I'll see all of you in the next one.